The Caitlin is the lead tug. It was built in 1984 by Sanchez Marine Shipbuilding Incorporated of Fall River, Massachusetts as the Shamon. In 1986 the tug was acquired by Vid Marine Incorporated of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where she was renamed as the Broward. In 1996 Vid Marine Incorporated renamed the tug as the Cape Canaveral. In 2000 Vid Marine Incorporated was acquired by Seabulk Towing Services Incorporated of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where the tug retained her name. In 2002 Seabulk Towing Services renamed the tug as the Hollywood. In 2003 the tug was chartered to the Signet Maritime Corporation of Houston, Texas, where the tug was renamed as the Signet Enterprise. The tug worked in cooperation with the Brownsville, Texas Fire Department, providing firefighting support for the growing port activities. She was equipped with a large capacity fire pump and water cannon. The water cannon was capable of pumping 3,200 gallons of seawater per minute to fight any fire. Plus the tug could carry 720 gallons of foam to use on oil or chemical fires when needed. In 2005 she was returned to Seabulk Towing Services Incorporated of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where she was renamed as the Hollywood. In 2016 the tug was chartered bareboat to the Tradewinds Towing Company of St. Augustine, Florida, where the tug retained her name. In 2019 she was acquired by the Tradewinds Towing Company of St. Augustine, Florida, where the tug was renamed as the Caitlin. In 1944, the Allies initiated two offensives aimed to cripple the war-making ability of the Axis powers. In the skies over Europe, American and British bombers focused on the oil production and transportation network of the Germans. At the same time, American submarines concentrated their efforts on Japanese tankers carrying fuel. Without petroleum for their armed forces, the war machines of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan ground to a halt. This lesson was not wasted on the United States military, for in the post-war years, the Navy aimed to ensure that an adequate pool of tankers would be available to provide the necessary fuel to sustain the American military in any operation. In 1945, the Chief of Naval Operations created the Petroleum and Tankers Branch within the Navy staff, OP 422. With the selling of a large majority of the U.S. merchant fleet under the Ship Sale Act of 1946, the Navy received permission to transfer 27 Mission Class T2 tankers from the reserve fleet to OP 422. By the time of the Vietnam War, the 5 T5s, and 16 remaining T2s, along with the long-term chartered tankers, provided the core of the MSTS petroleum fleet. 11 of T2s had undergone an extensive overhaul, which added 10 years to the lives of the ships in the early 1960s. However, the large crews and limited size and capabilities of the ships led the service to search for a replacement. In May 1967, the Department of Defense identified the requirement for 9 new ships to replace the Maritime Commission-built tankers of the 1940s. As part of the sealift enhancement programs of the early 1980s, MSC initiated contracts with Tampa Shipbuilding for 5 Champion-class T5 tankers. These ships were earmarked as replacements for the older T5s built in the 1950s. For the first time, ships of MSC would be named for merchant mariners honored with the Merchant Marine Distinguished Service Medal for heroism in World War II. The USNS Paul Buck was originally constructed in 1985 by American Shipbuilding Company in Tampa, Florida for Ocean Product Tankers of Houston for a long-term charter to the United States Navy and operated by Military Sealift Command. The ship was delivered on July 7, 1985. It is a T5 tanker. The ship was named after Merchant Marine Paul Buck, who was awarded the Merchant Marine Distinguished Service Medal. The Paul Buck harbored next to an icebreaker in Winter Quarters Bay, Antarctica. Paul Buck made frequent deliveries of fuel to the Antarctic for resupply. This was the most common route that this ship made, delivering a variety of fuel types to the base. It was always escorted by an icebreaker. In 2010 the vessel was replaced by Empire State and Paul Buck was taken out of service and transferred to the Maritime Commission's National Defense Reserve Fleet. The vessel was laid up in interim hold as of April 2020. This morning, February 2, 2024, it was observed being towed through the Brazos-Santiago Pass at South Padre Island, en route to international shipbreaking in Brownsville for recycling. The stern tug is the Signet Magic. Signet Maritime is a strong force in the tugboat world of late. It seems that not a year goes by without 2 or 3 new boats joining its fleet of 31 tugs spread along the Gulf Coast and in Dubai.